Hello and welcome to AJP Sports for our coverage of this international friendly between England and Denmark. I'm your host, Loz Jackson, and joining me for this evening's games are Dan Connor and Joe Chapman. The last time these two met was on a cold February night in Copenhagen back in 2011. England were victorious that night as goals from Darren Bent and Ashley Young lifted them to a 2-1 victory after Liverpool's Daniel Agger had opened the scoring early on. A fresh-faced Jack Wilshere won his first cap that night under the then-manager Fabio Capello. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from that game.
Welcome to the Parken Stadium in Copenhagen for this first international of two. Sorensen out, Rooney! Goalkeeper stranded, Rooney with the shot in and it's blocked and away to safety. The back pass, straight into the path of Bent. Sorensen quickly out. Eriksson, the tallest of players. Decent ball in, it's the opening goal, and Denmark have got it. And it owed so much to the cross from Eriksson. Daniel Agger with the header, and it flew past Joe Hart. Rooney. Walcott looking to get past Poulsen. Theo Walcott able to play it across, it's the equaliser. Darren Bent, what a start to this friendly. Does really well here to shrug off the attentions of Poulsen, and in fact it takes a slight deflection off the defender, which inadvertently guides it even better into the path of Bent. Bentner. The post. And the rebound is put wide by Crondelli. What a chance that was for Christian Eriksen. Hasn't scored yet for his country. Almost did there. Chance for England here. This is Ashley Young to finish it. And he gets his first goal for his country. The interception from Glenn Johnson. Perfect pass through for Ashley Young. And the finish is neat, the finish is precise. Sorensen can't get that. And on his 12th international appearance, Ashley Young gets his first goal for his country. Last few seconds. It's a victory in the first match of 2011 for Fabio Capello's England. Ashley Young getting the goal that proved to be the winner in the second half. Delight then for the travelling England supporters. And they start...
Well, that was an impressive victory for England at the time, and no doubt they'll be hoping for a similar result at Wembley tonight. What do you make of England's chances in tonight's friendly then, Dan?
Well, they're more than capable of sticking quite a few goals past Denmark tonight. I think they're a much more settled, organised squad under Hodgson than they were 3 years ago under Fabio Capello. And yeah, there's plane tickets to Brazil, you know, on the line here tonight. And yeah, it's a good opportunity for some of the fringe players to really make their mark on this squad. Okay.
Well, surely Roy Hodgson will be hoping to get some confidence back into his players after those disappointing defeats against Chile and Germany back in November, especially considering the World Cup will be kicking off in Rio in just 99 days. While it's only another friendly this evening, do you think this game could have a little bit more significance than most?
Well, definitely. Like we said just a minute ago, it's a massive opportunity for the fringe players, the likes of Raheem Sterling, Luke Shaw, Jordan Henderson, you know, who all come into the squad for tonight's game. You know, it's a massive opportunity for them to show that they can carry their club form across onto the international stage. And yeah, grab that place on the plane to Brazil.
Yeah, I completely agree, to be honest. There's a lot of players that could be feeling a little bit unfortunate that they missed out. The likes of Gareth Barry's had a very, very good season for Everton. The likes of Michael Carrick. So there's one or two players with the trio of friendlies before we go to the World Cup. They'll have the opportunity to impress, I'd imagine.
Well, that's right. Roy certainly has some big decisions to make before the summer. One player who definitely seems to have played his way into real contention to make the play is Liverpool's young winger Raheem Sterling, who makes only his second appearance in the England senior team tonight. And that's his first since November 2012. A big chance for him, isn't it?
It is, yeah. He's had a very, very good season. He suffered a little bit from burnout last year, and he's come back fighting very, very strong. He's added goals to his game this year, and alongside a lot of other English players in that team, he's really, really impressed. Brendan Rodgers has done a great job with him. He's nurtured him, and he's really forced himself into the reckoning in the last couple of months.
Yeah, I think he had a couple of off-field issues, that he had to deal with also the last couple of seasons. So I think he's really matured as a player these last few months, and it's shown in his play. Recently against Southampton and Arsenal, he's had fantastic games, and he's earned himself a great opportunity tonight to be a part of Hodgson's plans.
Yeah, he certainly is. Well, we know that Sterling starts for England, but let's take a look at the rest of the team for tonight's game. So, Joe Hart keeps his place in goal. Hard to see anybody getting in there ahead of him in Brazil. Glenn Johnson earns his 50th cap tonight, and he starts alongside 4 of his Liverpool teammates. Phil Jagielka is missing through injury, which paves the way for Chris Smalling to start alongside Gary Cahill in defence. Despite being one of England's most capped players ever, Ashley Cole's selection tonight is something of a surprise given his lack of match fitness and the impressive form of Leighton Baines and young Luke Shaw. A midfield trio of Jack Wilshere, Jordan Henderson and skipper Steven Gerrard will be hoping to control the pace of the game, while Daniel Sturridge and Raheem Sterling will be providing the width. The talismanic Wayne Rooney will lead the line once again for England tonight. What do you make of that team, gentlemen?
Mixed messages really, I think, from Hodgson. I think he's gone with the spine that he plans to start against Italy in Brazil, with Cahill at the back as one of the centre-backs, Gerrard and then Rooney. But he's also given a couple of opportunities to new players like Jordan Henderson, Raheem Sterling, and obviously plenty of exciting fresh talent on the bench as well. So mixed messages tonight. I think I would have liked to see Luke Shaw start ahead of Ashley Cole. Ashley Cole's not really had a lot of game time at Chelsea this season, and Luke Shaw's been excellent at Southampton. So mixed messages I think overall.
I think we're seeing signs of the idea that Roy Hodgson has got. He'll have a lot of players in mind for the Italy game on June the 14th. So like Dan said, there's 1 or 2 players that are concrete and 1 or 2 players that are really given a chance this evening. And we're able to kind of see the best form of the players in games like now and in June. Really going to decide who's going to be on the plane. The wingers, Daniel Sturridge has played on the right-hand side for Liverpool this season already, so we'll see if he can match that form for his country.
It'll be interesting to see also where they play respectively tonight. I mean, is he going to go with Sturridge as an out-and-out striker centrally, or is he going to play in behind Rooney, or vice versa? Are they going to have to track back and help their full-back?
It's so difficult to tell where Wayne Rooney's going to play, to be honest with you. He can play just about everywhere. You'll see him in his own penalty area defending alongside the defenders at times. So, while you give him the free role, while he's performing, he can be a very, very dangerous player. I am surprised at the full-backs. Like Dan said, Ashley Cole is a bit of a surprise. Glenn Johnson hasn't been fit this season for large parts, so Kyle Walker might feel a little bit, well, he's also injured, but players like John Flanagan might feel a little bit left out. Might feel a little bit unfortunate, really. Okay,
well, I'm sure we'll see a little bit of Luke Shaw at some point this evening. It must be pleasing for Liverpool fans, though, to see 5 of their players in that starting lineup tonight. Considering how well they've done in the Premier League this season, it's hardly surprised to see so many Liverpool players in that England squad tonight.
No, not at all. They've had an excellent season. That's reflected in their league position at the moment. I think with the resources he's got there, Brendan Rodgers, in terms of they don't have the greatest squad depth in comparison to Man City and Chelsea, and I think it's just a testament to Rodgers as a manager, how well they're doing this season. As we said, Henderson, Sterling have been fantastic. Henderson in particular, because he struggled the first couple of seasons he came to Liverpool to really get a hold of a place in that squad. But this season, his link up between...
He's had more consistency.
Definitely, yeah. His link up between the forward players, Suarez and Sturridge, he's been key in that area, and Sterling, like we said earlier, has matured massively. So yeah, they deserve the opportunity.
I've been massively impressed with Jordan Henderson this season. He obviously moved for a lot of money a couple of years ago. There was a lot of expectation on his shoulders. But Brendan Rodgers, like he has done with other players in the squad, was really giving him his chance. And he's bearing the fruit now.
It's nice to see from an international point of view as well. We often as fans complain that players are selected more on reputation and the clubs they play for rather than on form, and certainly in this case you can't accuse Hodgson of that, because Sterling and Henderson in particular have been terrific.
Yeah. Right then, let's take a look at who's lining up for England's opponents tonight. Leicester City's Kasper Schmeichel makes only his third appearance in goal for Denmark tonight, while Daniel Agger is a much more common sight in defence. He captains the side this evening. Sloth, Kjaer and Anderson make up the rest of the back four, whilst Kvist, Jakobsen, Poulsen and Crondelli are in the midfield. Larsen wears the number 10 as he'll be looking to support Arsenal's Nicklas Bendtner, who could be the lone man up front for the Danes tonight. A shame not to see Christian Eriksen play tonight, though maybe not from England's point of view. But what do you think on the Danish team tonight, gents?
I don't think there's a heck of a lot to worry Roy Hodgson in England, really. Like you've already said, Christian Eriksen's been he's been the shining light really for Tottenham in what's been at times a disappointing season. Yep. They had a big turnover of players in the summer, and he was the one that really stood out. So while he's not playing, he's, considering the age of him, he's got so many caps, he's so influential for his country. He will be a big miss, and for the neutrals it would be a shame not to see him.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Eriksen, is a big loss for them. He's the creative spark in their midfield. We saw highlights at the start of the show of the game 3 years ago, and he was just as influential. Well,
it's interesting, isn't it? Nicklas Bendtner hasn't had much game time at Arsenal either.
Yeah, so it's a big opportunity for him tonight. It's a big opportunity for Kasper Schmeichel in goal. I think it's only his second or third appearance. He's had a great season for Leicester. They look set to move up to the Premier League. So if he can grab that number 1 spot for his country as well, it'll be a terrific season for him.
Well, if we take a look at the substitutes for each side, and we'll not go through them all since there will be a lot of them, but who's going to get given their chance for England tonight? There's a lot to choose from, and Roy Hodgson can only make up to 6 changes. Who would you like to see come off the bench tonight, gents?
There's a lot of players, obviously, from Southampton on the bench. I can't see Roy Hodgson picking all of them for Rio. The likes of Jermaine Defoe have made a big move from Canada, and he'll want to kind of warrant that journey. Jay Rodriguez has really impressed me. Out of all the players, he probably is the one that kind of goes under the radar at times, and he's really impressed me this season. He's Southampton's top scorer. The likes of Ross Barkley's had a terrific season. Don't want to be too quick to kind of rush the young players and put them in the spotlight too quickly, but Ross Barkley really looks a real talent. And then you've got the old stalwarts, the likes of Frank Lampard and James Milner, who have still got to prove themselves if they're going to be on the plane. Yeah.
One player I would have really liked him being given an opportunity tonight is Steven Caulker. I know he's playing in a Cardiff City side that are conceding a lot of goals and down at the foot of the Premier League table. But I do think he's a fantastic talent, and I think perhaps with Jagielka's injury problems, perhaps there's not so much certainty around the partnership.
Well, he's been one of the standout players for Cardiff City this season.
Yeah, definitely.
There's not been many.
And you can always get a goal as well. In addition to him, Adam Lallana, again, fantastic season at Saints. Real creative prospect. And hopefully he'll get some pitch time at some point this evening.
Well, we can speculate all we want about what changes he'll make and how his team will line up, but let's get a word from Roy Hodgson himself ahead of kick-off.
Well, just the 29 England players got off the coach this evening. 17 at most will get their chance tonight, Roy. So simply, what's been the message to those players?
Well, the message has been twofold, really. It's been partly a preview of Brazil and what we have coming up and what we need to be thinking about in the next months to make certain that when I do select the squad, they're all going to be in the best possible physical and mental condition. And of course the last day or so has been much more concentrated on this game because it's an important friendly here at Wembley, and we want to give a good account of ourselves as it will be our last chance to play a friendly match before I select the squad.
Jordan Henderson, Raheem Sterling, those sort of players have jumped the queue with their good club form. How big a step can a good performance from one of those tonight mean for them in terms of getting to Rio?
Well, I don't think you could ever discount, whenever you're given a chance to play for England, that your performance, is going to count, and it could do you a pile of good. But on the other hand, I must also say that, you know, we don't judge players purely on their 45 minutes, 60 minutes or 90 minutes in a friendly match. We do take into account what they're doing in their club sides and their general form.
And what they've done in the past, for instance, Ashley Cole, 107th cap tonight. I know you're going to give some game time, you hope, to Luke Shaw, but do you lean towards players who've been there and done it, or are you leaning towards those who might offer potential in the longer term?
Well, I suppose the simple answer is I'm leaning towards both. I mean, there is no simple answer to the question which is the best thing to do, to go with experience or to go with youth, because both have their big advantages. But we believe in Ashley Cole just as we believe in Luke Shaw. So it's not going to be a question tonight that whichever plays the better game is necessarily going to be the one selected. But I'm rather hoping that both will play well, and will continue, if you like, to keep my head spinning when it comes to left backs, because as you know, we've got Leighton Baines as well, who probably won't feature so much, because I want to look at the other two.
Wish you all the best tonight, Roy.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Well, we've just seen Roy Hodgson now. Obviously, got Brazil firmly in his mind, and obviously, you know, that's what these friendlies are for, preparation for the World Cup. Do you think he's going to get the right balance of sort of, you know, the new talent coming through along with the experienced players already? What do you make of Roy's interview there?
There's a lot of hope, I think, after that interview for the likes of Ross Barkley's and Raheem Sterling's and Jordan Henderson's and Luke Shaw, like we heard. You know, he knows that he's got to find a balance somewhere. He's got to find the right mix. He's got to have the likes. He's going to have the likes of Steven Gerrard in the squad and the Wayne Rooneys. So he's got to be able to balance it up with players that can, you know, add a bit of flair and a bit of pace, especially going forward. I think after listening to that interview, the one thing we can say is that Leighton Baines is on the plane.
Yeah, again, the interview reflected, you know, or the sentiments of his interview reflects in his team selection. You know, he's gone for the likes of Ashley Cole, Wayne Rooney, Steven Gerrard. You know, the experience in place. But he's also said, you know, he will give opportunities to players who are playing well at club level, such as Jordan Henderson, Raheem Sterling. I think one thing that will be interesting tonight is whether any of the goalkeepers will get any time. Joe Hart, you'd think, would be the obvious choice.
There's three on there.
There's number one.
Fraser Forster, of course.
Yeah, Fraser Forster.
That record, yeah, that record at
Celtic. Ben Foster, you know, who Hodgson spent a lot of time with at West Brom. You know, we know he's a big fan of him, and John Ruddy as well. So be interested to see if they get any pitch time.
Okay, thanks, Dan. The teams are just about to go out now, so we can pass you over to Wembley for our coverage of tonight's game with commentary from Andy Townsend and Clive Tilsley. Welcome back to AJP Sports coverage of tonight's friendly between England and Denmark. The score at half-time stands at 0-0, not particularly exciting, though it did come to life a bit at the end of the first half, didn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. By far England's best chance right at the end there with Sterling hitting the post.
Yep.
Somehow hasn't made its way in. You know, it's a great ball in from Ashley Cole. You know, the worst kind of ball for defenders. Any kind of touch is usually going to put it in the net, but unfortunately on this occasion it didn't. Other than that, though, I think it's been a little bit too flat from England. You know, they haven't really had a lot of time on the ball, haven't had too many chances either. Struggled to bring Sturridge into the game. He's not really playing in that central role that we talked about before the start of the game. So, yeah, a few positives, but definitely a lot of improvement needed for the second half.
I know there's. I think Roy Hodgson will be looking to the bench, to be honest with you, after watching the first half. There's something just to kind of provide a spark. Sterling going forward has been pretty positive. I think Jordan Henderson hasn't looked out of place in the middle of the park. And you'd like to see more of Sturridge, of course. You know, he played on the right-hand side. It's not really working out for him at the moment. He does play there on the occasion for his club, but he seems quite isolated at times. So a little bit more movement from him and Wayne Rooney.
OK, well, let's take a look at some of England's chances from the first half then. The first time England really opened up the Denmark defence was when a nice bit of play freed up Ashley Cole on the left flank, where he almost set at Raheem Sterling, but it somehow didn't go in. Dan, talk us through that just one more time.
Yeah, well, obviously Sturridge, he finds Rooney. Rooney, it's the pace of the move that really catches out Denmark. Rooney with a nice quick layoff to Ashley Cole, who, like I said, puts in a fabulous ball across the face of goal. Usually, you know, any touch is going to send it in. Yeah. But I think it gets caught between Sterling and the defender and just clips the back post there. Unfortunately, the wrong side of the post. But yeah, great move all round, by far England's best sequence of the half. Yeah.
Yeah, desperately unlucky, really. I mean, to find the post as opposed to the back of the net there is very, very unfortunate for him. And like I said before, you know, probably England's standout performer in the first half and would have deserved the goal.
OK, well, Kasper Schmeichel hasn't really had much to do in the first half, but he's certainly been up for the test when called upon, like when Daniel Sturridge found himself in a bit of pace. Joe, talk through it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, Kasper Schmeichel hasn't been tested a heck of a lot in the first half, and it was basically a test of his awareness. The shot came so quickly, and it was a stinging effort from Daniel Sturridge that, you know, he just had to kind of get his body in the way, get his body behind the ball, and force it over the top of the crossbar. So while not a lot's gone on in the first half going forward for England, that's just a display and shows just how much what they've got to beat.
There was a shot from Sturridge as well that he closed down very well. You know, reminded me a lot of his dad, Peter. You know, he used to come out, big arms, close down the angle, and yeah, really put off the striker, which he did with Sturridge there, and kept his team in the game so far.
Absolutely, he's learned from one of the best there. OK, well, there are a few other friendlies being played tonight, so let's have a look at some of the half-time scores from around the world. Scotland are in action in Poland, where the score still stands at 0-0. Wales and Iceland is 1-1, where a James Collins opener has been cancelled out by an unfortunate mistake by Ashley Williams, an own goal, of course. Northern Ireland are in Cyprus, it's 0-0. And the Republic of Ireland leads Serbia 1-0 thanks to Shane Long's goal. Meanwhile, the hosts of this summer's World Cup, Brazil, lead South Africa, who hosted the last World Cup, of course. It's 2-0 in Johannesburg. Right then, back to England. Dan, what do you think Roy Hodgson will be looking for in the second half?
I think a little bit more pace, a little bit more urgency from his team. You know, they haven't had as much time on the ball as they would have liked. They found Sturridge often too far wide, you know, when perhaps he should be in the box. Yeah. You know, there's been a lot of sequences of play where it's found Sterling out on the right, and you look in the box and there's only Rooney there. So I think moving Sturridge into that central role, you know, making him the hit man for England, and hopefully that'll bring more chances and chance of a goal. Yeah.
Joe,
yeah. As said before, you know, you've got to get Daniel Sturridge into the game more, move him more centrally. He's going to be the player that can provide the key to unlock Denmark's defence, I feel. And then, you know, as regards to substitutes, there's so many players on the bench that, I mean, the England fans will be really, really desperate to see the likes of Lallana and Ross Barkley and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. So there's plenty of time now for the second 45 minutes for those kind of players to make their mark on the game.
They just need to chuck the kitchen sink at Denmark. I mean, you know, there's 45 minutes now before Roy Hodgson selects his squad for Brazil. You know, we've seen it a lot in that half. Sturridge tracking back, covering for Ashley Cole. You know, I don't think that you should be worrying too much about that. You know, they need goals this half, and yeah, hopefully they
absolutely. Well, we're being told that Luke Shaw is set to come on and make his England debut at half-time to replace Ashley Cole. Is that a change you're happy to see, gentlemen?
Yeah, absolutely. We talked before the game, you know, he's a fantastic prospect, being linked with big things at international level and at club level. You know, he's had a fantastic season. And we've seen previously in the week how much it means to him to get called up for his country. You know, he's shedding a tear the other day. And yeah, hopefully he can inject a bit more pace into the game and yeah, really give Roy Hodgson something to think about.
He looks a real prospect, you know, considering he's 18 years old and he's already getting his first cap. And you can't say that he doesn't warrant it. You know, he's played exceptionally well for the last year or so for Southampton. He's become a regular in the team. So while Ashley Cole hasn't exactly hurt his chances with that first half performance, it gives Luke Shaw the opportunity we knew he was going to get.
Great. Well, the second half is just about to get underway, so we'll pass you back over to our commentators for the game. It's Clive Tilsley and Andy Townsend. Full time at Wembley, and England have beaten Denmark thanks to a single late goal from Daniel Sturridge. Dan, it wasn't really that easy though, was it tonight?
No, not at all. Not convincing at all from England tonight, you know. Really off the boil. Didn't, you know, convert the possession and the chances, you know, that they created into goals, you know, and it's a shame really for us watching. It's a shame for those who, you know, turned up in a packed out Wembley Stadium, because I'm sure they would have wanted some goals tonight. As for the fringe players, you know, it was a big opportunity for them tonight to, you know, stake their place for a claim on the plane to Brazil, and yeah, just a bit average this evening.
Yeah, it wasn't convincing by any stretch. but ultimately the job was done. And you know, it was efficient. The one moment of quality in the game is the only thing that's really decided it, to be honest with you. The cross from Adam Lallana, the turn and then the ball in, and the header from Danny Sturridge is the only thing that, you know, was worthy of really separating the two teams. Denmark defended pretty well for large periods, didn't offer a heck of a lot going forward, but they'll be quite disappointed they're coming away with a defeat.
Okay, well, if we take a look at the stats from the game, we can see that England clearly dominated, and yet they still found it very difficult to find that bit of quality to win it. It almost never came. Yeah,
I mean, 19 shots on target, and 19 shots overall, and only 5 of those on target. I think that says a little bit about the two strikers tonight, and Rooney and Sturridge, a little bit off the boil. But yeah, we look, you know, clearly the majority of possession, and yeah, just failed to really execute the chances when they came. I thought Sturridge's positioning was off on a lot of those chances. You know, balls came in from Luke Shaw, Adam Lallana, and he just didn't find himself in those areas that he perhaps would have done at club level for Liverpool. So yeah, average performance tonight. Yeah.
What do you think, Joe?
I think ultimately it was quite lethargic. Getting the ball forward, it didn't happen quickly enough at times, especially in the first half prior to the substitutions. And perhaps you could argue that the intensity of the Premier League, with regularity of the games being played at the moment, might have taken its toll on the players. But it needed the impact of the substitutes ultimately. Otherwise, like you said, I don't think it would have come.
Well, eventually England did make the breakthrough, and you know, it was the man in form that got it. Of course, Daniel Sturridge. Dan, talk us through the goal.
Yeah, you know, it's a good header from Sturridge, but it's Lallana here. Shows the initiative for the short corner, cuts back inside, takes his man on, a lovely little dink towards the back post. And Sturridge is a good finish. You know, he knows he's up against an informed Schmeichel, and he knows the only way that he's going to beat the Dane is by heading a cross goal. But yeah, it was all Adam Lallana again off the bench. We've talked about the subs changed the game, and yeah, it's fantastic from him. He's been doing it all season for Southampton.
Yeah, it was like I said before, it was the real moment of quality in the game. Adam Lallana just offers something different, especially when you want a goal, and he can be the man to provide it. Not necessarily scoring the goal himself, but certainly putting it on our plate. And Daniel Sturridge is in such a good vein of form at the moment that he was always going to take that opportunity.
Well, the substitutions in the second half certainly made a difference, particularly a couple from Southampton. Luke Shaw made his debut in the second half at left back, and Adam Lallana came on, as we just talked about, and you know, he had a real impact, setting up the goal, creating several other chances for his teammates. Let's just have a little look more in depth at Adam Lallana tonight.
Yeah, well, initiative was the word I just used for Lallana. You know, he adds that bit of spark. It was a bit flat in the first half. Here, linking up well with Luke Shaw, his Southampton teammate, well on the left-hand side. You know, nice little bit of skill there to turn the defender. Not quite the ball in that you would have hoped for, but you know, good link-up play there again with the forwards. And yeah, he really was the creative spark that England needed, you know, to change the game. There, I felt Sturridge, you know, like he was often this evening, not quite in the position that you know, he should be finding himself in as the central striker, but as we see here again, lovely bit of skill from Lallana, and the one time Sturridge does find himself where he needs to be, and it's a goal for England.
Yeah, he's really unpredictable for Adam Lallana, and that's his real strength for Southampton, and now he's proven it for England as well. You know, he's the one player that technically is excellent and would surprise a lot of opposing teams in Brazil.
Okay, well, you know, we did mention Luke Shaw making his debut tonight. How impressed were you by Luke Shaw?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't think Ashley Cole did a lot wrong, to be honest, in the first half, but it was good to see Luke Shaw get his opportunity. We saw how much it meant to him earlier in the week, and yeah, I think he really grasped it. He didn't look like a player who'd, you know, never played, you know, in front of a big crowd at Wembley before. Yeah. He was getting his debut, you know, for his country. I think he was very positive. We see here, look, he's attacking down that left-hand side. Nice little 1-2 there with Sterling. And then he goes on to deliver a good ball. Again, Sturridge not in the position that perhaps he should be. But yeah, he was very positive and very energetic. He's been doing it all season long, Southampton, as we said. And yeah, a really commanding performance from him.
Joe, what do you think about Luke Shaw?
Well, I mean, just really echo what Dan said for large parts. He's so positive going forward. he's always looking to offer something for an attacker, which is quite unusual for a left back. You know, you think that defensively it would be a strong point, but he's actually very, very good back and forth. The fact that he's 18 years old would surprise many people, especially people that wouldn't know too much about him. And the frightening thing is that, you know, the fact that he's 18 and he looks so comfortable on the pitch at Wembley means that I think he could be a real regular for the next 10-15 years.
I mean, if we look at him just in that last clip, you know, he's dictating the play, he's shouting across to experienced, you know, England players, Gerrard, etc. You know, so he didn't look like a man who never played for his country before, and he made a real influence.
Definitely one to keep an eye on, and surely, you know, an England regular for the future years to come. Now, I'm sure Roy Hodgson will have been impressed with his debut also, and we can hear from the England manager now.
In a moment of inspiration tonight, would it be fair to say that Adam Lallana's come a long way in a short time for England? Yeah,
that's very true. I think that we had to work very hard for it. It was a very well organised Danish team, and they sat behind the ball well and denied us the spaces, and we had to work very hard, you know, to get to that situation. Although I must say, I thought Schmeichel had an outstanding game in goal for them, and we could actually have led earlier. But I thought the period from about the 60th to the 85th minute, we showed some really good play at that stage, and as you rightly say, Adam Lallana's introduction, not least of all for the cross for the goal, but also in his general play, made a big difference.
What about Sturridge and Rooney? And there's a flexibility to the way you played them tonight. What have you learnt about that combination?
Well, it'd be too harsh to judge it on one performance. I mean, if we want to use all these players together, and I thought we had an awful lot of talent on the field tonight, there will be some work to do to make certain that they gel together. I thought in the first half our passing was neat enough and maybe a little bit too slow, and we didn't get behind the opponents enough. I thought in the second half we got behind the opponents a lot more, and as a result, of course, we created the chances which eventually led to the winning goal.
Well, Roy certainly focusing on the positives from this England win tonight. Now, we can't talk about the game and not mention a man in goal for Denmark, though. Roy Hodgson mentioned, you know, how well he played, Kasper Schmeichel, showing glimpses of his father, perhaps. How do you think he got on tonight?
Yeah, he was superb. You know, we see here 3 or 4 great saves that kept his team in the game. The one particularly from Sturridge in the first half, like you say, reminded us so much of his dad, the way he closes down the angle. This one it is here. You know, how many times did we see his dad do that for Man United? You know, it was a very commanding performance, and you know, take a lot of encouragement.
Yeah, it took a lot for him to be beaten in the end. And the one thing he's so commanding of his area is you know, his awareness and the fact that he's always off his line, ready to close players down, just like his dad used to. And the fact that he's, you know, only got a handful of caps and he's still at a young age. For Denmark, he's going to be a regular in goal for years to come. Well,
his contract's up in the summer, so there might be a few Premier League clubs impressed by that performance. What do you think regarding Kasper Schmeichel's future? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, if anything, that was even more of a reason why he had to have a big game tonight. Yes, it was only his 3rd game for Denmark. He's got a job to do for them and try and secure that #1 jersey. But, you know, there'll be a few managers around the Premier League and across Europe that look at him tonight and think, you know, he could do a job for us. His contract's up. Leicester look pretty much up, so whether, you know, they'll make the efforts to keep him, I'm not sure. You'd probably say they would, but certainly there'll be a few managers looking around thinking, yeah, this guy could do a job.
If anything, the performance tonight has put him in the shop window, you know, even more. And the fact that everybody will know that his contract situation, he's been linked with the likes of AC Milan recently, and I'm sure half the Premier League would be happy to have him in their goal.
Well, Leicester are unlikely to let him go. You know, they could well be on the way to the Premier League themselves, so we'll have to see how that one goes. But now let's take a quick look at some of the other games from tonight and see how they finished up. Scotland claimed an impressive win in Poland thanks to a goal from Celtic skipper Scott Brown. Gareth Bale led Wales to a 3-1 win over Iceland in Cardiff. Northern Ireland drew 0-0 in Cyprus. And the Republic of Ireland fell to Serbia as they came from behind to win 2-1. That's actually Martin O'Neill's first defeat as Ireland manager. And finally, in Johannesburg, Brazil thrashed South Africa 5-0. They must be feeling pretty confident ahead of the World Cup on their home turf this summer. Gentlemen, what do you think about those results tonight?
Yeah, a great little win for Scotland going out to Poland. It's a tough place to go. England know all too well how tough it is to go out there and get a result. So yeah, that'll do Gordon Strachan's side of the world a good, you know, going into the Euros. Qualifiers that start after the World Cup, of course. Wales need to find the consistency against these smaller sides like Iceland if they're going to have any chance of getting to France as well in 2016. Gareth Bale's looking imperious at the minute, you know, he really is one of the top players in the world. So it was a good victory at home for them. Ireland, you know, it'll be something for manager Martin O'Neill to think about going forward as well. And as for Brazil, you know, favourites to win on home turf this summer. Would suggest they need perhaps a little bit higher calibre of opponents, you know, as in the warm-up for their campaign. But yeah, obviously very demanding and comfortable win for them.
I think the British teams for the Euro 2016 qualifying draw all got a decent draw, England included. And the results, by and large, are impressive tonight, and hopefully there'll be promising signs for the future. As for Brazil, I can't look too far past them. Personally for the World Cup this year, after watching them in the Confederations Cup and dispatching the likes of Spain so comfortably, I can't look too far past them on their home turf.
Right then, before we go, who do you think has sealed their place in the World Cup squad this summer based on tonight's performance? What do we think, you know, Shaw, Lallana, Sterling?
Difficult to say on tonight's performance, you know. I don't think Roy Hodgson would be too happy if, you know, this kind of performance was carried into Brazil. But no, Sterling certainly looked lively. Henderson, you know, didn't do a lot wrong. So I'd imagine, you know, should they continue their club form, that they'll be appearing on that plane to Brazil. Luke Shaw, whether it's going to be a little bit too early in his career for him to get the nod as one of the left backs, I do believe Baines will be the #1 left back out there, and Ashley Cole will go for as backup. In terms of players that aren't making it, you know, there's a few that didn't feature tonight. Kyle Walker, Phil Jones again, you know, not really cemented a place down either national level or club level in midfield or in defence, so I think he could struggle to make the plane. But yeah, certainly for some of the fringe upcoming players, it's important that Hodgson takes them.
Yeah. We've got players in abundance coming through now. Unlike 3 or 4 years ago, you know, when there was complaints that the grassroots level development wasn't happening to the standard that we have come to expect from England. But with the likes of Luke Shaw and Adam Lallana, and players like Ross Barkley, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, you know, I think the future is very, very bright for England. Roy Hodgson's got a lot of decisions to make that are going to, you know, sway us one way or another, I think, in the World Cup. So it'll be very, very interesting to see. A lot of people will be, you know, absolutely certain to be on the plane. Other ones are up in the air. And the, you know, the more experienced players, the likes of Frank Lampard, James Milner, Ashley Cole, all of a sudden aren't guaranteed a place. Interesting
with the goalkeeper situation as well tonight. He didn't feel the need to test Foster, Ruddy or Forster, so one would assume, you know, Hodgson's already got his 3 in mind.
Well, it depends on what happens between now and the end of the season, of course. But the fact that it'll now be based on club form, I personally feel Fraser Foster will be there, so maybe it'll be a case of whoever stays in the Premier League between Norwich and West Brom to decide the 3rd place.
Well, that's it for us. England have beaten Denmark 1-0 at Wembley as the build-ups to the World Cup intensifies. I've been Los Jackson. Thanks to Dan and Joe for joining me tonight, and thanks for watching at home. Good night.